It was a new moon last night when my dad left us. My dad helped launch our new lunar cycle. The new moon invites us to set intentions for new beginnings with thoughtfulness and authenticity. All the parts of me that are able to do that were nurtured by my dad and exist because of his care. Recently, I've heard people talk about how we choose our parents before we are born. This is a belief that exists in a few cultures, and some go into specific detail about how souls draw up these pre-birth agreements. While I understand that humans perceive on a limited spectrum and that the unknown is vast, the unknown is unknown. So I understand this idea the way I understand any mythology. But my gut reaction is that I can't understand why I ever would have chosen my mother. And since I have repeatedly chanced upon this idea over the past several days, that question has been naggingly present. Why would I choose my mother? My mother damaged my nervous system nearly irreparably through severe neglect and abuse. My entanglement with her is a continuous source of pain. She harmed me in a lasting way. Why would I choose that? While I understand the concept that suffering makes us stronger, I also believe that we can learn our lessons through love. As a soul, why would I choose to learn my lessons through her? I just feel like I can't sign off on that kind of masochism. So this question has just been lingering in the background these past days that I knew would be the very last days of my father's life. Last night it struck me. Before I got the call, I was sitting in my yard by the beautiful Asian maple that was about my height when we first moved into this house and now towers and consumes the sky. I was thinking about my dad and the things he and I used to do together when I was growing up. How he taught me to draw figures, how he played creativity games with me, how he took me to see amazing movies that other kids weren't allowed to see, how we read the same books, how we talked about everything, how he listened. And it struck me, I would have chosen anything in order to be his daughter. I would have chosen any kind of suffering and distress, anything. I would have withstood anything to be his daughter, and I would do it again. The contrast between my mother and father is a narrative in which I've invested heavily. I should probably continue to examine that, but let me say this about my dad. He loved me unconditionally. He valued me as a whole independent person and not as an extension of himself. He taught me the importance of carving out time for yourself to do the things you love, no matter what other demands compete for that precious space. Protect it. He taught me how to be honest about your own mistakes. He taught me that anyone can change their lives at any time. He modeled accountability for me. He let me see his struggles. He let me see his growth. Every single best part of me I got from my dad. It was January 9th when we learned my dad had advanced pancreatic cancer and lung cancer. Pancreatic cancer is just a death sentence. There's no ambiguity. I cried and howled and grieved on that day, but I still had him. Garrison and I went to see him. He was still himself. In the following weeks, I was still able to call him. I knew he was still there. I went to see him in the beginning of May. how he wanted to live in this body that was just no longer compatible with life. But he wanted every bit of experience he could get. He wanted all of it. But his pain was so great. Every few minutes his throat would seize up and he would not be able to get air to flow in or out. It was visibly excruciating, and he would make a terrified sound. Each time it happened, I was afraid it would be the last time, that he would die right there. After so many times, my dad struggling and afraid, I hoped it would be the last time. I wanted peace for him then, and I left him like that. I got daily reports from family. He was all but gone. We had already lost him. Certainly I had 800 miles away and unable to sit beside him. When I got the call last night, I was relieved that it was over and that he was no longer in pain. But the finality, despite months of preparation and the certain knowledge we all have that everything dies, the finality has gripped and is crushing my throat. And when I can sing again, it will be a miracle. And in that miracle, my dad will be there.